Welcome in, everybody, to Leading Off. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and welcome to Fantasy Pros. That's Dan Harris on location. Oh, this is going to be good times. I implore all of you, if you're someone who technically just listens to the podcast most days, this is the one to kind of click over. You want to click over to the YouTube channel onto Fantasy Pros so you can see Dan Harris on location. He's got some nice shrubbery behind him. We finally lit him just a little bit better than he was. But the nice thing about this, Dan, is it felt almost like one of those interviews where the person wanted to remain anonymous. So I was wondering if we could do some kind of cool voice effect, maybe where where your voice got really low like this and you weren't able. Dan, what did you think of Jacob deGrom? I think he could be MVP, possibly. It could be great. I think it would be a fantastic way, maybe a dark shadow edition of Leading Off. Maybe that's what everybody needs this Monday morning.
I wish we could have streamed the 5 minutes before the podcast started where I literally, at least you can see my face at this point, I think, on YouTube.
Yeah, actually, it's much better. It is, believe it or not, folks, this is significantly better than where we were.
So much better. I was legitimately just a dark silhouette of something right now. This is going to be a little different. I am at my mother's house, as I told everybody. I visited New York. My kids are in the background playing a memory game. This is the longest they've gone without punching each other. My wife's going to come through the door with coffee in like 10 minutes. So this is going to be crazy. But we're here. We power through. We never let you guys down. We're going to be here every weekday. Don't worry about it. It's going to be great.
On location, and we're earlier today, so I know some of you love this because I have gotten messages, hey, could you start the show a half hour earlier? Most of the time we say, no, actually, we kind of need that time to get our own kids situated and everything. But this is a little gift from us to you. And what a weekend of baseball it is, and was, I should say. And let's do a little 3 up and 3 down. Jacob deGrom, unbelievable. Just absolutely incredible. Throwing 100. He is in the MVP conversation. I'm throwing that out there now. We had in, it was Verlander in 11 and then Kershaw in 14, or I'm reversing the numbers, I think, in my head of the times. But we had the last two guys who won MVP and Cy Young, right? And I think that deGrom is in that conversation, at least right now. Tatis, back-to-back homers on Friday and Saturday, and then he goes for another home run. And he's got 5 over the weekend, so any concerns about the 2 hands on the bat, I think, have been alleviated. And not to mention the running around the bases with the 1 hand over the eye, trolling Trevor Bauer. And Trevor Bauer, to his credit, being like, yeah, that's great. I love it. I want to see more of that in baseball. He only wants to see it with one of his eyes. And then Michael Kopech going with the 10 strikeouts. Those are the 3 ups. Dan Harris, it's a pretty good weekend for Mr. Tatis and Mr. deGrom.
Yeah, it is incredibly impressive with that because the bottom line though with Tatis is nothing's really changed. Okay, it's not that I necessarily thought that he would come back and not be impressive. It's really just, can he stay healthy over the long term? And that still is the issue, whether or not he's going to survive the season. So my overall view on Tatis hasn't changed all that much, but it's great to see anyway for the game. deGrom on another planet. I don't know, maybe he should have gone number 1 overall. And Kopech's really intriguing. I mean, I just didn't, a 5-inning start, I probably would have bet the under on whether he would have had that all year long. So really impressive for all 3 guys.
Yeah, Tatis also hitting those 2 home runs Friday night on the same day that his dad years ago in Dodger Stadium hit the 2 grand slams in 1 inning. What a crazy little bit of history that is. And please, if the baseball gods are good to us, they'll give us Padres-Dodgers in a 7-game series in the NLCS. That's all I want for Christmas. I mean, I know I'm a Mets fan, but you know what? I don't know. Padres-Dodgers, I like teams that don't like each other. It's the way to go. 3 down, Jake Odorizzi. Leaving with forearm tightness. Wah, wah. Christian Yelich going for an MRI in his back where they say everything looks okay. But Craig Counsell basically saying that he's plateaued in terms of his recovery. It's not a good combination. And then Trey Turner getting hit in the elbow. Jonathan India getting hit in the head. Everyone's getting hit. Everyone's getting MRIs. And Odorizzi leaving that game. And then the kid comes in from the bullpen. Throws an unbelievable 90 pitch and goes the rest of the guy. Unbelievable. How does this even happen? What a great story for that, kind of, I won't say career minor leaguer, basically, Kent. But certainly a very cool moment in baseball, but not good news for the Astros or the Brewers here, 3 down.
Well, Odorizzi, I don't think we were really expecting anything of too much going in. At this point, maybe a little bit Astros magic, but at this point, if you rostered him, you can definitely drop him. As for the rest, Yelich, I'm not that concerned about right now. The fact that the MRI did not reveal anything, bad or anything like that, it makes me feel a little better. But still a little bit worrisome. But, not the ups, I think, outweighed the downs this weekend in terms of 3 up and 3 down.
I would agree with that. Yeah. And the Kopech stuff we'll get to in a little bit too, because there's, certainly the question of when Lance Lynn comes back, well, what do? Do you just relegate him to the bullpen? And my guess is yes, because I don't know what kind of innings this kid's going to be able to throw. He didn't pitch at all last year. So as exciting as this was in redraft leagues, I think you need to pump the brakes a little bit, basically, or maybe even, kick the trade tires and see what's going on. He's going to be useful for that team come down the stretch, whether he's starting or, relieving, but still the talent of Kopech is undeniable. It's just being realistic about if there are 100 innings even in that tank this year, probably that much, but I don't know how they want to use those innings quite yet. So what would you do with him in redraft right now?
I think it's tough. I mean, I think if you can sell really high off of this, then you do it. But I do think the fact that he's basically missed the last 2 years means that, maybe 100 innings is the absolute cap. So it depends on what people are willing to give up for him. But I would not be penciling him in as somebody who I'm going to rely on for the entire rest of the season. And I'd try to sell high if I could.
All right, some fun facts here, because Tuma and Mike putting always some fun facts into the sheets here. Jacob deGrom has more RBI than runs allowed this year. He's got 2 ribbies and 1 earned run allowed. And Bieber, our boy Biebs, Shane Bieber has 17 consecutive starts with at least 8 strikeouts. That ties Randy Johnson for a record. So when we keep talking about when Bieber's on the slate, you just kind of start Bieber. And to my embarrassment, you'll love this. I had a deGrom lineup that did not cash on Friday on FanDuel. That's right. It had Matt Olson and a bunch of A's in it, and that was the night where the A's kind of eked out a 3-2 victory, and they did nothing, and it was a bunch of goose eggs and deGrom and his 80-something points. I still didn't cash in that game because deGrom was like 50% rostered in that tournament, and I got just goose eggs across the board. So pathetic, sad, and I tell these stories because I think it's good for everybody to hear, because I think that it makes us realistic about what MLB DFS is. It is sometimes a fickle monster that is going to eat you alive, even if you have Jacob deGrom doing is what he did. Alex Kirilloff started all 3 games. Your thoughts here for Kirilloff and the Twins here?
I would be patient. I have been a Kirilloff stan forever. So I really have. I got him everywhere I could. I knew I nailed the first part that he'd be up, before April was out, but we still got to see him hit. He obviously had a terrible spring when he was there. I think eventually he will contribute. I think he's going to be up the rest of the year. So if you roster him, I would remain totally patient and wait this out, because I do think eventually he is going to hit and be a guy who you can start every single time out there in 5 outfielder leagues at the very least.
Well, let's talk about some of those hitters that are getting hot. Giancarlo Stanton, 2 homers Friday. Adolis Garcia homered twice Friday also. So we're not sure if you all rostered him or not, but we did talk about him last week, I believe, heading into waiver wires. Bregman's starting to heat up for the Astros, which is good. I expect the Astros to start picking things up. Nobody's hotter than the A's right now. Matt Olson had 4 homers last week. And of course, the one night I have him, I touch him, nothing happens. But Trevor Story went yard, so you are now up 3-1 in the home run contest. And don't think that as soon as that home run happened, I didn't get a message from Dan saying,
immediate.
You know what? The only thing I'm a little disappointed, like you could have sent me like a never-ending story meme or something. Like I wanted you to be riding a dragon, outside the ballpark or something like that. Fair. That's the only thing that was missing. But
I'll do better. I know I'll do better next time.
You were busy this weekend. Family commitments.
Correct.
You get a pass one time.
Take it.
One time you get a pass. All right, Willie Calhoun hitting leadoff. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see how that works out.
Yeah.
2 of the last 3 days. I'm all for that. Anything to get him going. Ohtani, 2 more dingers, steals a base. He's pitching tonight. We'll get to him in the MLB DFS slate in a bit. JD Martinez has more home runs than he did all of last season. He's at 7. And the Franimal, 3 for 4 with a triple and a dinger and a steal for the Franimal. So hitting performances this weekend. What kind of stuck out to you, Dan?
Well, I mean, look, Giancarlo Stanton is going to hit. We know that. Alex Bregman is going to hit. So it's great to see this. And I know it's frustrating as fantasy managers when guys get off to a terrible start early. It's just good to see that. I really like Willie Calhoun. I have for a long time. You and I talked about him a lot coming into the spring. I like what I'm seeing from Calhoun. He got going a little bit this weekend. If he's going to bat leadoff, they're desperate for a leadoff hitter at this point. So I'm excited about Calhoun, even if he doesn't stick at leadoff or anything. If he bats near the top of the lineup, they need offense. I like what I'm seeing from him just watching his at-bats. And Adolis Garcia, I don't know, Joe. I don't know if you have insight on this. Adolis Garcia is not a guy who I typically gravitate towards. Like big power, not like all that
Too
much
Ks,
else.
Yep.
What do you think? Is he like a guy who you ride short term? Do you think you can ride him long term? Because for me, he's more of a short term guy. I don't expect him to keep this up all year long.
It's a short term thing, but as we mentioned last week, it was also a matter of with the Rangers, if you're hitting, you're going to get at bats. So I mean, because there's just not as much competition for them. So I think that you ride the wave. I think it's more of a deeper league play. If it's shallow league, I wouldn't worry too much about him. And if you picked him up and he has another good week, I would look to trade him and package him together. I mean, you're not going to get anything back for him specifically, but if you package him with another piece or two, you might be able to bring back a haul based on the good numbers you've seen. But the K rate is always a problem for me when it comes to Garcia, and that's not going away. But you could say that about most sluggers, and that would be a fair assessment of them. Let's talk about some of the pitching performances. Michael Kopech, we mentioned before, 10 Ks, no walks, 5 innings. Wow, that's quite a little outing there. Zach Gallen and Madison Bumgarner shut down the Braves. Gallen 7 innings, 6 Ks. Bumgarner 7 inning no hitter. It's a no hitter, okay? I don't care. Major League Baseball, shut up. If you're gonna have a 7 inning game and that's the game, then it's a no hitter. So give me the no hitter.
Exactly.
I mean, I understand. It's like, well, it's not a no hitter because you pitched 9 innings. Well, would you let me pitch 2 more? No, we won't. Well, then I think it's a no hitter. I mean, it's crazy. Yep. Braves are struggling mightily, by the way, and we'll talk more about when they're going to turn that around. Yep. Gausman, 8 innings, 11 Ks, 1 walk, 21 swinging strikes. Pablo Lopez continues to fly under the radar. He had a nice 6-inning start here, 13 swinging strikes for him, 7 Ks, 1 walk. Brady Singer was good. Our boy Danny Duffy, good again. Riding that Danny Duffy train in so many leagues. It's unbelievable. I love it. John Means, once again, too, is that guy. John Means is that dude where he's putting it out there. Somebody's going to come get him and take him off this team, and whoever does, I think, is going to be very happy that they have him. So buy all the John Means you can now, because it's only going to get better in terms of win equity. Dan Harris, anything stick out to you in particular with some of these pitching matchups, or should I say performances this weekend?
I think it is time to buy Danny Duffy fully. There's probably a 7-run, like 2-inning, 7-run outing coming at some point. But, he did add velocity. He was once upon a time like a guy who you just set it and forget it. So I think it's time. And you make the great point, Joe, I guess we don't know this for sure since I think the Royals are tied or have the best record in the American League right now. Kudos to us for under the radar, betting pros sort of pick that we had. We like them this year coming in. But I assume that he's going to get traded to a team which probably over the long haul has more win equity. John Means, a guy who, I was kind of buying in the spring. Everything he's doing is legitimate. That's a guy who you really expect to get traded at some point, as you mentioned, maybe to the Yankees as they desperately search for pitching. And Kevin Gausman, look, I was not buying him coming into the year. I wasn't going to do it off of the one shortened season there with the Giants. But the bottom line is he is relying on his splitter heavily. That is what makes him a successful pitcher. And so long as that splitter, some days it's just not going to work. So there are going to be a few bumps in the road, but over the long haul, especially there in that park, which might be a little bit less of a pitcher's park now, but still very favorable to pitchers, I think you can ride Gausman pretty reliably as like an SP3, but moving closer almost to the SP2 range for the rest of the season.
I got to tell you, Means is a great tale about when you're looking for pitching in drafts next year. Look for those guys who just have good peripherals, who are good pitchers, even if they're on bad teams, because wins are so arbitrary anyway in Roto, especially with some of these bullpens. You look at some of these pitchers who are pitching well and the bullpens implode and, they don't have as many wins. I mean, Jacob deGrom should have 4 wins right now. He doesn't. Yeah. It's offenses let you down. Focus on the peripherals. Focus on the pitcher. Look at the Marlins pitchers, what they've done this year. Look at what John Means has done. Look at some of these Royals pitchers. Singer's turning around, but Duffy's been really good. Minor's been good. Don't discount good pitchers on bad teams, especially because they come at a discount. And it's a good lesson in season-long Roto, because those peripherals they put up over the long haul are going to be very valuable in basically than trying to look for the win equity all the time with pitchers.
There's another lesson to be learned, I think, from Means, and that is to really look under the hood of whatever you see, because his numbers last year, got a little bit of buzz coming into last year. His numbers overall weren't all that impressive. But again, you looked at sort of how he finished. He dealt with some personal stuff in the beginning of the year that led to him probably not pitching quite as well. His velocity came up towards the end of the year. So when you're evaluating, pitchers in particular coming into next year, look under the hood, look at changes in velocity as the year went on, things like that, because things like that will tell a better story than just looking at the overall numbers.
There you have it. All right. That's coming from our resident mechanic under the hood, Dan Harris, everybody. Let's talk about some of these injuries. Mike Trout didn't play all weekend after getting hit on the elbow there. Christian Yelich, again, the MRI. I want to talk about this one because Trey Turner got hit. X-rays were negative. They play on Tuesdays, got the day off. So I think that's going to be okay. It's the Yelich one I want to take a pause with for a moment, if I may, because Here we go. Last year wasn't healthy. This year not healthy. And no matter how good that pitching is in Milwaukee, I don't know what they can be offensively without him. And I said this yesterday on the TV show, and I kind of want to bring it to you here. I think the best thing they can do right now is go be aggressive. Go get a Trey Mancini. Go get somebody that can be acquired, that has some flexibility, could play some first base, could play some outfield. Shaw hasn't hit. They just got Colton Wong back. Garcia's not a middle of the order kind of fearsome guy. I think that there's certainly a situation where Christian Yelich, if he goes south, so south goes the Brewers. And no matter how good Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta are, do you kind of buy into that sentiment too?
I think it's a great point. They really do, even regardless of Yelich, really, because this is a team that, you and I both picked over on their win total. We liked what we saw coming into this year. But really, you look at that lineup and you're right. I mean, I like Avisel Garcia. I really do as a player, but he's not a cleanup hitter. Travis Shaw is not the guy who you rely on in the middle of your order. They need another bat. And that's especially true with this Yelich thing. Again, I'm not I know plateaued, whatever it is, the MRI doesn't show anything significant. I'm assuming that he's going to be back within a week, I hope. But regardless, they should be aggressive and go out right now because they can easily win that division and potentially make noise in the playoffs, given their 1-2 punch of Burns and Woodruff. So I'm totally with you.
And I don't think they've got the minor league system necessarily to pull off a trade for a Trevor Story. So that's why I'm trying to be more realistic. Who's a guy who could hit for some power in the middle of your order and who could be acquired? And to me, Mancini's that dude. I'd be all over him if I was them. Brian Hayes feeling better, but still not right there yet, coming back from that wrist injury. I'd be very worried about this. Wrist injuries are tricky. Anthony Rendon could be activated this week. Springer plays the full game at the alternate site. We saw him there when we were there this weekend, which is where they keep us when we're not doing the show, the alternate site. Lucas Giolito had the Sunday start pushed back to Tuesday because he cut his finger on a glass water bottle incident. I don't know. Between the tuna fish cans and the water bottles. What's wrong? You know what it is? It's like those infomercials. You ever see those infomercials where people can't pour juice or they I can't cut with these scissors. Oh, and it falls all over them. That must be most major league pitchers, I feel like. They just can't do any random household task. They go to get ice out of the tray and it falls everywhere. Oh my goodness, there's got to be a better way.
Baseball injuries are the best. What was it, Clint Barmas who was carrying the deer meat? Or was that a story that
no.
made up?
There was him. No, that's it. And then there was Derek Holland, remember, whose dog tripped him and he fell down the stairs.
Right.
And he broke his hip.
They're just people. People. They're just people with everyday clumsy accidents, just like the rest of us.
God. Odorizzi is a problem, though, with the forearm tightness. Yeah. That's never a good thing. So as cool as this whole Kent situation was, and that was awesome and fun, Christian Javier looked so good last week. We're going to be on this Christian Javier thing for a while. I'm telling you right now, boys and girls.
Yep.
But Framber Valdez is starting a throwing program. Maybe that's the guy that comes back. McCullers pitched better finally after some rough wins, I would say, in April. But the Odorizzi thing is kind of a bummer because he was there to eat innings, and that's the one thing you wanted from him, and that's the one thing he can't give you right now. And it doesn't look like he's going to give it to you because forearm tightness always leads to one thing, and it's not slicing yourself on a tuna can.
Yes. I look, if you roster Odorizzi right now, I don't know if I was that excited about him regardless, so I would feel fine moving on because I'm not expecting much from him rest of the season. I will say in a weekly league, I am starting George Springer this week. I know they only have 5 games, but I'm expecting him to come back on Tuesday. So I'm starting him. I think he's going to be activated on Tuesday. I'm rolling with him.
Carrasco could return the second week of May, which is kind of what we said. We said, look, you probably get him back mid-May. And look, he's going to probably be back mid-May and Noah Syndergaard facing live hitters. That is good news. All right, so the bullpen stuff. Oakland seems like it's a full-blown committee. Let's just go there. We have a Royal situation too. Gallegos recorded a 2-inning save on Saturday. Kenley Jansen, obviously, Kenley Jansen. I don't know why. We've said this before. No matter what happens, you always just ride with Kenley Jansen. And then Romano activated Saturday, but he didn't look good in the first outing back. So what do you take from the bullpens this weekend? What you saw? Anything? I mean, it's just a mess. I hate bullpens. I hate saves. I hate 5x5 roto. There, I said it.
I'm running away from every bullpen that I possibly. The Royals, an actual stay away. I think Mike Matheny is just messing with us. Oakland, pretty much a stay away because I don't know which one of these guys are going to get a save. For the Blue Jays, I don't have any faith that Dolis is going to be able to, hold that job now that Romano is back. But I guess for now, if I had to choose one, it would be Dolis. I think Gallegos was just filling in. Reyes got a save yesterday, I believe. And Kenley Jansen, I think, is just the guy, and stop doubting him and ride him until he eventually retires in 10 years when people are thinking that he should have lost the job like 6 years ago. But other than that, I'm avoiding.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, before we continue on here with tonight's slate, and it is a tricky one, man. There is a ton of good pitching on this slate, and we've really got to dissect it and figure out how we want to approach all of this. I want to make sure that we talk about Manscaped, which is the sponsor of our podcast, and Manscaped obviously has got the Lawnmower 3.0. It's out there already, and the Lawnmower 4.0 is just around the corner. So if you go over to the website, go to manscaped.com, you will get, with the code leading off, 20% off plus free shipping on your order. Now, this is not like some of the regular trimmer, okay? This is much more protective of your nether regions. It's got advanced skin-safe technology pioneered by Manscaped. I'm telling you right now, this is a premium product. It's waterproof. It's got the LED light. It's got the Quiet Stroke 7,000 RPM glorious motor. It's just the best trimming tool out there. And this is the time of year where you're going to need that trimming tool because everyone's going to see more of you. And if you want them to see more of you and not be appalled, make sure you make Manscaped yourself. That's what you want to do. So get in there. Like I said, go to manscaped.com, get 20% off plus free shipping from manscaped.com when you use that code leading off. Again, the code leading off at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. So let's turn the page now to the DFS slate because I need to get a home run. I need to get back on the board here. I know Atlanta's been struggling, but I kind of feel a little bit like tonight, I don't know. It feels like Atlanta could be some good chalk tonight. They've got Charlie Morton on the mound, and sometimes these things happen where you get these games and you get runs where teams aren't very good. And we've talked about the Braves being a team that, at times is going to struggle. And when you bring in a pitcher like Zach Davies, who gives up a lot of hits, that's exactly the kind of guy you want. You want a contact pitcher on the mound to get kind of right. And you got a lot of value here in this Braves lineup. Austin Riley's hit better recently. He's 2.5. Swanson's 2.6. Darno's 2.8. So even if you go to DraftKings versus FanDuel, DK like Freeman and Acuna, they're all like 6K. Only 3.9 for Freeman by comparison. Now, I'm just saying, like, this is still towards the top of the board, but there's definitely telling you that they like this matchup over on DraftKings and there's value over on FanDuel. When you look at the rest of the slate too, obviously Corbin Burns sticks out, but he's got a tough matchup because Trevor Rogers has been unbelievable for the Marlins. So I think what you take away from this is you pick a side, which we often do. And to me, I kind of want the Trevor Rogers side of this game. He's been so good against lefties. This Yelich-less lineup for the Milwaukee Brewers also has a lot of lefties in it. Colton Wong, Travis Shaw. It's got some guys in there that, honestly, like, I don't think they're going to have good at-bats against them. And you're going to see some other guys probably pop up, more right-handed hitters in this lineup. As much as I love Burns, I kind of favor the cheaper 9.6 Rogers on FanDuel. What are your thoughts on these matchups? Not that you don't like Burns. Obviously, everyone does. But it kind of feels like, favor-wise, it should be the Marlins. And actually, they're plus 151 from a wagering standpoint tonight. I think the Marlins are an interesting bet because I'm just worried about that offense of the Brewers.
I mean, I get it. I do get it. But how can you fade Burns at this point? Like, I just, how can you? I mean, I know he's 11-1 on FanDuel, but I can't. This might be one of the 4 outcome games, right? Is that like what you
totally
sort of right?
Totally
so
is a 4 outcome game.
Maybe it's just one that you want to avoid necessarily. But for me, I've got to play Burns. For the Braves, of course, everything says, well, they've got to hit, right? I mean, this is the game, right? This is when you get off the schneid after you basically they get 1 hit in the doubleheader yesterday. So against Zach Davies, sure, but man, that lineup, Joe, I don't know. It's a great spot for DFS because really this is where they could, but I don't think I can go there because I just don't have the intestinal fortitude to watch that lineup flail about like all day long to do it. So Burns, the guy I'm going in my lineup. I'm probably not going near the Braves at hitters at this point just because I don't trust them after what we've seen.
It's fair. It's a lot of swing and miss in that lineup. But like I said, Zach Davies and the contact pitcher, this is where you kind of like, you look at the trend and you go, okay, this has been a trend. And you and I both know it's baseball, right? So tonight it's like a new week, it's a new day. And all of a sudden, oh, look, there's the Braves scoring 8 runs off Zach Davies. I like Morton at 8.6 against that Cubs lineup because they do strike out a ton. That's the only other thing that I'll put out there.
They're kind of hot a little bit. Makes me a little worried. They're a little hot, but I agree. They're a strikeout prone. I agree. If for a secondary arm on DK, especially.
If you want to ignore all these guys, you can go to Tyler Mahle at 9.3, but he's got the Dodgers and Urias tonight too, which is also kind of tricky. Like I said, it's these matchups tonight where you're getting some of the pitchers you like, but they're going against each other where you might not have a choice. You might have to pick a side. That's kind of the theme of the night. Tyler Mahle's been terrific. And this is a Dodger lineup that doesn't have Bellinger in it, so it doesn't scare me as much as when he's there. But I'll put it out there. I think any of Mahle, Rogers, Morton, I think any of these guys can give you GPP starts tonight that are worthy. I think I'm just going to put that out there. And one of them, whoever gets the win, and this is probably one of those nights where you don't have the one lineup, maybe you do 2 or 3 and you have the different pitchers at the top, and I think that's fine. That kind of makes sense to me. On DraftKings, you got Manaea at 7.8, Morton at 8, and then Ohtani at 7.7, who walks everybody, strikes out everybody. I'm waiting for him to pick up the feel of pitching again because he just hasn't pitched all that much.
Yep.
What do you think of that start that he's got tonight? Because he is going against the Texas Rangers. So what do you think about Ohtani as a secondary arm on DK?
I'm pretty torn on it because I think what you said is waiting for him to find that feel for pitching is exactly where I am. I mean, he's a great pitcher, strikes out everybody, but he walks everybody too. I just don't know how many innings are going to be in that arm right now. Apparently he's going to bat too. It's that's, I'm probably not going near Ohtani right now, even though again, the wind is blowing out for what it's worth. Not that matters because the Rangers can't hit anybody at this point. There's good win equity with Jordan Lyles, assuming Trout comes back, but I'm probably avoiding him because I do think that there are other potential sort of pitchers out there that I'd rather go with as my secondary arm.
It is tricky. So does that mean Manaea as a secondary arm? Is where you're looking?
I do like Manaea.
Of the A's.
I do like Manaea for sure. I know the Rays are always a little tricky. You never know what you want to do against them, but I think I kind of just have faith in him at this point. I think I'm with him, and I think I'm going for him as my secondary arm on DK.
All right. Well, we're looking for some stacks tonight. Look at the Yankees against Baltimore, and look at the Houston Astros against Justice Sheffield, too. I love this move of Correa up to the top of the order. Bregman's getting hot. There's some value down at the bottom, too. Diaz has been okay if he's in that lineup today. We're supposed to get Altuve back at some point. Not sure when.
Yeah.
But Alvarez's stock has dropped on FanDuel, too. He's just 3.1. He'll hit eventually. Just don't panic, everybody. And then Gurriel is 2.9. So a lot of good right-handed batters here, like Bregman, Correa, Gurriel against the lefty Sheffield tonight. Wind blowing out to left field, too, for those right-handed batters against the lefty. That's a good combination of things. And the Yankees, once again, I know they're a bit of an enigma, but there's also some discounts you can get there. Like Stanton's starting to hit a little bit. I think, Dan, if you look at the rest of this, too, you see some of the guys like Urshela is a 3.4 over on DK. He's just 2.3 on FanDuel. He's a free square. DJ LeMahieu at the top of the order at 2.9 on FanDuel. My God, how do you not hammer that against Baltimore? I would. Dylan Carlson on both sites is cheap too, 2.9 on FanDuel, 3.3 on DK. Tucker also in that lineup for the Astros, 2.8. He's struggled mightily, but he's a better hitter than this. I mean, Kyle Tucker's going to turn it around eventually, don't you think?
Oh, for sure. People asked if I'm worried. There's nothing I'm worried about. Like he's not walking as much as he used to, but everything else is fine. His expecting batting average is much higher. I have zero concerns about him either tonight or over the long haul at all.
Also, a couple other guys. We mentioned Darno and Riley earlier being cheap, but also on DK, David Fletcher, 3.2. So these are some guys sort of at the top of some orders, too, that you can take a look at, who are values on DraftKings, FanDuel. But look, the pitching slate is very tough tonight. So if you want to go safe with Burns and Cash, look, you can't say no to that. It's a great play. And look, he's gone out there and beaten teams that theoretically were going to be tough matchups. And the Marlins have looked to be a tough matchup. I'm just looking at how good Rogers has been and how bad that lineup is, especially because some of the left-handed hitters are opting out. You're going to start to see this now. Rogers is a tough at-bat against lefties, and these guys are going to be like, hey, you know what, coach? I think I got kind of a back spasm tonight. I'm going to opt out of this. I think I need a breather tonight. I see Rogers on the mound, and, it'd be better probably if I just sat this one out. You're starting to see that, and a lineup that's already weak, taking those other starters out of it, I'm telling you, it says a lot about how good Rogers is. He ain't the big unit. But I'll tell you what, he is not a comfortable at bat with that release point that he's got, that kind of 3/4 kind of thing. It's not good. It's not fun. All right, let's get to home run calls for the night. I am going with Alex Bregman. That's right. He's getting hot. Ooh. Let's go. Bregman going yard against Justice Sheffield or whoever Seattle wants to throw after that. Hopefully. Just give me a home run. Let's go. I got to catch up. Dan's starting to pull away. It's no good. Dan, where are you calling your shot tonight? Who's going yard?
I got to go to Baltimore. And against Matt Harvey, we've seen it enough. I'm going to go with Stanton as my home run call, in Baltimore. I think one of him or Judge is going yard tonight, but I got to make my official call. I will go with Stanton as my home.
There you go. Stanton and Bregman. Keep a close eye on all of that. And in the meantime, make sure you go hit up manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping thanks to our friends at manscaped.com. Use the code LEADINGOFF. That's what you want to use. Again, leading off for manscaped.com. And don't forget about that giveaway we've got. It's just a few days left in April. That means only a few days for you to get that Ronald Acuna autographed jersey, thanks to our good pals at Pristine Auction. So what you do is you go to fantasypros.com/MLB contest. Again, that's fantasypros.com/MLB contest. Go to Apple Podcasts or CastBox, make a review of the show, screenshot it, go back to fantasypros.com/MLB contest, upload the screenshot, fill out the form, and bang, just like that, a Ronald Acuna autographed jersey could be yours if the price is right. PristineAuction.com. Thank you to all of our friends, and thank you to everybody listening on this early Monday morning edition. We want to wish Dan Harris safe travels here on his road back. We hope he had a nice weekend with the fam, and we'll be back regular scheduled time tomorrow, 9 a.m. Dan will be all refreshed and ready to go. Until then, the story of the game goes on. For Dan Harris, I'm Joe Pisapia. We'll see you next time, kids.